we hold ourselves back so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's taught me that just having that little bit of hope
Mm.
can actually change your life.
That's so good. That needs to be a Hallmark card.
Literally.
What's up, my little love buckets? Welcome back to another episode of the JD Remedy. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. I am very excited because I have a very special guest, Kristin Bonney, who is joining me. So Kristin is a motherhood mindset coach. So she helps women thrive in motherhood and rediscover their identity. Today we talk about breaking generational cycles, identifying those subconscious belief patterns and limiting beliefs that may be holding us back in life. I wanted to give a little topic warning, I suppose. We do talk a little bit about domestic violence, but we also speak about how to get help, how to get out, and how that impacted Kristin's life as an adult and as a mother. So we do talk about some incredible things in today's episode, but I just wanted to give you gals a little heads up before we get into the episode. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in this week. I'm joined by the beautiful Kristin. How are you, gorgeous girl?
I'm good. I'm going really good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, really good. Thank you for asking. So, Kristin, tell the listeners a little bit about what you do in your business.
Okay, so I am a motherhood mindset coach. I work with mums to basically rediscover who they are, after we have children and we've kind of lose our identity a bit. So I work with them to rediscover who they are, heal all their trauma and let go of anything holding them back so they can start showing up as the best version of themselves, which then has a ripple effect on their relationships and their children. So yeah, that is what I do in a nutshell.
That is really powerful. I've always understood and known that we have such a huge impact in our kids' lives, especially from the ages of 0 to 7. And if we're not willing to show up as the best person we can be, I'm sure I'm not a mother, but I know how much of a struggle that must be, trying to not push all of your previous shit
Yes.
into your children's lives. So it's so important that we have people like you willing to help us work through it. So
thank you so much.
Big, no pressure or anything, but
I know. It is a lot of pressure. No,
no
it's
pressure.
good.
So tell the listeners about what made you so fascinated in wanting to get into this work and work with mums in this field.
Okay, so when I was little, when I was like 1.5, my mum actually just took off. And as you could imagine, that left me with a lot of abandonment issues and a lot of confidence issues, self-love issues. So, from a very young age, I had felt, first of all, the struggles of a motherhood. But I had also felt the struggles when we're not being our best selves, when we're not being the best version of ourselves, and how it can play out in our lives. When I was at the age of 15, I ended up getting into an abusive relationship, and that shaped me in many ways that I couldn't even comprehend at the time. I was so young. So all of the events that have occurred throughout my life have pretty much led me to where I am now. And I think that, the healing for me began way before motherhood, but so much more comes to light, I guess, when the process starts. A lot of stuff comes up and it's like, oh, I didn't realize I was telling myself that. And then so this has led me to where I am. And it breaks my heart seeing other women, not living life to the fullest and holding themselves back just by stories that we've created. or, events, traumatic stuff that has happened to us that we can't quite let go of or moved past. So yeah, that's what's led me to where I am.
Wow. And that's a lot, even like a lot happened by the age of 15 and then onwards from 15 when you were in that relationship. Was it since becoming a mother, was that when you wanted to do the work for yourself? Like, was that when you realized that you had some past trauma that maybe you buried down a little bit and then maybe motherhood brought it to the surface a little bit? Or were you working on yourself before that?
No, I was working on myself before it,
Yeah.
especially coming out of the DV.
Yeah.
So I think that was really the point for me of like, I need to work through my shit. And that was the point where I also noticed or really understood generational patterns and cycles. So, for him, he experienced it himself. He grew up with it, and I saw the effect that it had. It became his normal. So while motherhood has opened up so many different aspects of it, it all started before that. And I think that it's so important to start before.
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay whenever you start. Like, the fact that you've started, you should be really proud. But the more work that we do on ourselves before we have our children, it's like the less likely we are to unconsciously put stuff onto them.
Yeah, that's so true. So true. And let's go back to when your mum left. I mean, at such a young age, you probably didn't even understand what had happened, right? And I think often we hear the story that as a stigma, the male leaves, right?
Yeah.
What did that do for you as a female, not having a mother figure around or that feminine energy or just that relationship around? How did that develop for you and what did that mean to you?
It is something that, that it's subconsciously affected me so bad without even realizing, because obviously I was so young, I didn't have a clue what was going on, but it shaped my beliefs in a way that I thought that I could never be loved. To have the nurturer of your mother walk out of your life, it's a huge thing, and it takes a huge toll in your confidence. Like I felt as though anyone who I got close with, or making friends and stuff like that, it became really hard because I felt as though everybody was going to leave. Well, my dad raised me, and he's been the best father. I'm so far in my masculine energy now because of that I don't, it's a massive block in my feminine. And now stepping into the role that I'm in now, sometimes it's hard for me to tap into that feminine even still. And I'm still doing a lot of work around it. So I'm going to do somatic experiencing and, a womb massage and stuff like that to physically shift the trauma.
Yeah.
But I don't have a female figure that I look up to, and that played out in my life in so many different ways that I didn't actually realize until I started to dive into all of this personal development. And
and it's interesting, I mean, especially when we're young and we don't understand the subconscious mind and limiting beliefs and things like that, we have awareness of what they are now, like you said, not being worthy of love and the fear of abandonment and things like that. Whereas we may be subconsciously, what's the word I'm looking for? Self-sabotaging relationships. Like maybe we pull out too soon, or we leave relationships first so we can hurt them before they hurt us. And we're in fear of abandonment, so we break up with them first. Or maybe we don't date at all in fear of abandonment. So we just we're not aware of what's going on, but we know that we're not fulfilled. And we know that something's going on. So for you, when did you first kind of realize that or did you have awareness that, something's not quite right here? I want something more, but I'm not sure why I'm being held back. Like, did you have any awareness of that as you came into your teenage years, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. It was, and again, it probably leads back to the DV relationship because I was so afraid of being abandoned. I ended up becoming such a people pleaser
Yeah.
that I let, obviously I let him do a lot of things that normally I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And so I think from that relationship, so much unraveled, like so much came to light because I was like, well, how did I let this happen? I know that I was only 15 at the time, but I didn't have that sort of awareness around boundaries or how to love myself or how to look after myself or how I wanted to be treated. So it doesn't surprise me that I ended up in a DV relationship. And I can say that now because I've done so much work to move past it and I understand what's happened. Not saying that it's okay, it's never okay. But I have learned so much more from going through that experience that I wouldn't have never learned if I didn't go through it.
Yeah. And that's a hard lesson in itself, right? Even though these are very heavy traumatic experiences, unfortunately, sometimes we have to go through them to understand ourselves and understand we have to shed light on the darkest parts of ourselves in order for the lighter parts to kind of take over and come through. And tell me a little bit more about how you came to find that self-worthiness, especially in a DV relationship, because some of them can go for such a long time and you get in so deep. How did you come out of that and how did you help yourself?
I did a lot of breaking down these beliefs. So especially for I'm not worthy. And that's a belief that I carried on with me for many years after leaving. I did a lot of breaking down and actually questioning, am I really not worthy or am I just telling myself this? Because if I'm just telling myself this, then I need to change the way that I speak to myself. So when I sort of started to get all this awareness around it, I was questioning everything and I was questioning my own behavior and, my own way of showing up and my own way of talking to myself. And that's how it all started in breaking it down, along with other modalities like timeline therapy. That worked super well for me. And, I'm so grateful for timeline therapy because it was sort of the final piece to the puzzle in a way. But it was really just about questioning myself and my own thoughts.
Yeah. When you were, because obviously at 15, at such a young age, were you aware that, because that's NLP, neuro linguistic programming, where we work with the unconscious mind, and I know a lot of coaches and probably therapists have those tools. Were you aware that that kind of help was available to help you through what you were struggling with, or was that something you found much later on?
No, I found it later on. So I left when I was 18, right? Okay. And then I went down even more self-sabotage, where I the only emotion I could feel was anger. I got like 3 DUIs and 2 driving disqualified. I ended up on 4 months home detention. And sort of that right there was the universe's way of saying, stop, you need to sort your shit out. And because I had 4 months of thinking, literally 4 months of time of feeling my thoughts and my emotions and going through everything. So when I say that I was questioning everything, it happened within those 4 months. The questioning begun. I had seen what I was made to go to a psychiatrist, and then I had reached out to another psychiatrist a couple of years later, and she sort of opened my mind to understanding triggers and everything like that. And she opened my mind to the way that our brain works, as though we've got a filing system, and it's about building up that empowering filing system rather than that limiting one. So that is, yeah. So no, I wasn't aware of NLP or anything like that. I just thought to myself, this could not be what life is about.
Yeah.
I'm not here to suffer like this.
That longing for something different and something more for yourself.
Yeah. And then just questioning everything.
Yeah. What was your relationship with your dad whilst you were in the relationship? Did you guys always maintain closeness, or?
I had very limited contact with any of my family. Yeah. So my phone had been smashed, and I was only allowed to call off of his phone. So it was very limited contact. And yeah, my dad was actually the one who got me out. We went to he went to a job interview, and while he was in there, I was sitting there and I was like, my feet were busted up and everything. And I was like, I cannot stay here any longer. It's like, I'm literally, it's not good. So I wrote a note to the receptionist and I said, call my dad, I'm in trouble.
Wow.
And then obviously she called my dad, and dad called his phone. He acted normal and he said, oh, I want to go out for dinner. So that was fine because he liked to maintain contact with my dad every so often so that he wouldn't question anything.
They play a role. Yeah.
Yeah. So we went to dinner, and after dinner, dad said, get in the car. You're coming with me. And the next day he sent me on a plane to Darwin, which is where I was actually born. So I went to my grandparents' house. And yeah, that's how I got out of it.
Wow. Just the courage from you as well. I can imagine you being in that situation in the reception area, just not knowing if that was the right choice to make, but literally fearing for your life that what have you got to lose? You've got to reach out for help. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you and your dad must be so close now as well.
Yeah. We're still really close. Yeah. We have been, throughout my whole life, and I'm so lucky to have him. But I think, the bond definitely does strengthen. Like now I can't go 2 days without talking to him.
Oh, that's beautiful though.
Yeah.
Does he live in the same area as you, or is he in a different state, or?
No, he's in Melbourne. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah. So he always comes out. He always comes up and visits.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah. But yeah, it was definitely the hardest point in my life. And it was also the point where I was questioning the most of, like, what's going to happen if I stay here?
And I know, I'm not sure what your opinion is on this, and I'd love to pick your brain about it, but I always come from this really empathetic point of view when I see troubled youth. And they're in trouble, they rebel. A lot of it is they're either neglected, so they rebel because they want attention, or they're just so lost in themselves, like you with the behaviors of drink driving and, being on house arrest and things like that. I always just feel really badly for the quote unquote naughty kids, because you know that they're going through such struggle. What's your opinion on, not necessarily like the justice system, but we treat them as criminals, but is there that background support of why are you behaving like this, and how can we, I know there's a word for it where you change them to go back into society as what's the word I'm thinking of?
What, integrate?
Yeah, like we kind of help them to integrate back into society. Well, we help them deal with whatever they've been through, so they're not behaving like that. They're not crying out for help in a criminal way. What's your opinion on that whole thing? Because obviously you kind of experienced that in a way.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the system, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan at all. So, I was made during the court process, I was made to go and see a psychiatrist, and I left that psychiatrist appointment feeling shitter than when I walked in.
Mm.
I don't think that, in my opinion, there's nowhere near enough support. And, you know, when there's troubled youth and there's troubled kids, I always think back to, you know, well, what are they experiencing at home?
Yeah.
Maybe, or, you know, in their everyday life at school. And question that rather than question their behaviors, because even though their behaviors aren't acceptable, perhaps it is acceptable for them. Perhaps it is their normal.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, I have seen and experienced firsthand the, you know, how detrimental generational cycles can be and patterns can be.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah. So for anyone listening that maybe doesn't understand what generational cycles are, tell them a little bit about what it is and how you work through that with your clients as well.
Okay, so there is some extreme cycles. You know, we look at abuse and even alcoholism, drugs, things like that. And they're cycles or patterns that actually don't serve us. So when I talk about generational cycles, I talk about, for my experience being in DV, he didn't understand that this behavior wasn't normal because he experienced it himself. He grew up seeing his father be aggressive towards his mother, to him. And, you know, his father's father was probably the same. And that's where we start to create these generational cycles and patterns that we just either can't break out of, or we don't have the awareness around what's actually happening. And then, you know, it can be something as even simple as generational patterns. So the things that we are telling ourselves, or the way that we view the world. So right now, I've noticed, I don't know if you have noticed as well, but a lot of people are trying to break out of that 9-to-5 system.
Yeah.
So that is a generational pattern that has been created many, many generations ago, about the working man, the working person. Yeah. And we're here to slave, and we're here to work these set hours and get paid this set money. So they vary in so many different aspects, but nonetheless, the reason why we're breaking them is because they're no longer serving us.
You can hear my cat meowing in the background. It's a standard podcast over here. That's so interesting. And like what we talk about, the ages of 0 to 7, what we see, it patterns us subconsciously as to what we believe is right or wrong, or what our values and belief systems are. And I really do believe that at the core of us, we have this gut feeling or intuition that something's not right, or I want something better for my life, especially if you've grown up in a DV household, or alcoholic parents, or drug abuse, or whatever it is. I think we have this core intuition that something's not right and I want a better life, but I don't know how, because this is all I know. This is what I've been conditioned to believe, that this is what life is. How do we help people break those patterns? Because I think, let's do something easy like 9-to-5. We've been drilled in us, you know, go to school, get an education, and get a 9-to-5 job and work until you retire and then you die. It's like now we, as well, especially Gen Z, way to go, they're living the life. Gen Z is like, hell no, I am not working for my money. I am going to do whatever I want. I'm going to travel. I'm going to live my life. It's almost letting go of that belief system of, am I worthy of not working a 9-to-5? Am I capable of being successful without a 9-to-5? It's like you almost feel this internal pull of, I know I want something more for my life, but am I worthy, or am I capable? Fear of failure or fear of rejection, whatever it is. So that's an easy way to understand it in the 9-to-5. But some people go through it in DV relationships, like you know, wondering if you really are worth it. Am I going to be abandoned, or in a alcoholic situation, or whatever it is? So do you have those experiences with your clients trying to pull out of those patterns and behaviors?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I always say to my clients, a few of them experience some heavy shit. I always say to them that awareness is the most important step, right?
Mm.
Because if we don't have awareness, we don't know that anything
Yes.
is wrong. As much as our intuition might be telling us, or our gut
Mm-hmm.
feeling might be telling us,
Mm-hmm.
we learn to quieten that feeling down.
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't have awareness, then we can't do anything about it. First, we need to start on building up that awareness, and then we need to look at proof, right?
Mm.
So one thing that I said to one of my clients was, who's tried to leave many times. I said to her, stop looking at the amount of times that you haven't left and
Mm-hmm.
start looking at the amount of times that you have wanted to leave,
Mm.
because you've got that awareness. Now you need to build up that self-trust, self-belief, self-confidence that you want to leave. If you continue to focus on the amount of times that you haven't left, then you're not going to build that trust,
Mm-hmm.
confidence, and belief up. If you start looking at how many times you've gotten to this point and be proud of yourself for getting to this point for so many times, because it takes a lot to get to that point, of saying, actually, this is not okay. Like, I need to get out.
Yeah.
Start focusing on that. And then you'll build up that self-trust, self-confidence, self-belief that you need to just get out.
It's that
And
filing
then,
system you talked about, right? Like
yeah,
which files are you feeding paper to? Empowering
yeah,
yourself to leave, or bringing yourself down into a closed box of I can't leave, or I've tried too many times, it's hopeless. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. It's just looking for that evidence that, hang on a second, we've been in this place so many times. Like, to even get to that place is a lot of work. It's a
Mm.
lot of awareness, and it hurts. It
Yeah.
hurts when you realize that this isn't okay.
Mm.
Um, so that takes a massive amount of courage, even just thinking about it.
Mm.
And then, generally when we focus on that, like in my case,
Yeah.
the more that I wanted to leave and stuff like that, I didn't know how I was going to do it.
Mm.
I didn't know when I was going to do it, but the how to's essentially don't matter. We just need that belief
True.
that you will, and then the how to's will come.
Mm-hmm. That's really powerful. Were you ever afraid that those opportunities wouldn't come or the help wouldn't come? Or did you believe that now that I know this is going to happen one way or another?
Yeah, no, I knew straight
Yeah.
away. I
Yeah.
knew that this was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It was either going to go two ways. That was going to happen, like my dad coming,
Mm-hmm.
or I wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Wow.
So I didn't have, there was nothing left. I didn't have anything else left.
Mhm.
So
You had to believe that
I
almost.
had to believe that.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
had to. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know it's very common for people in abusive relationships to have those moments of self-worth where like I have to get out. I don't want this anymore. But then they almost fall back into those patterns of, oh, but I'm, fear, I don't want to be alone. Sometimes he's nice to me. We always gravitate back to those thoughts of not feeling good enough. Did you have those moments of, I don't want to call them weakness, but the moments that were like pulling you away from the empowered you? Did you have those
Yeah.
moments? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I don't think that you can go no matter what you do, whether it's getting out of a DV relationship or going after a dream that you really want or
Yeah.
a goal that you really want, you're always going to have those moments of, shit, can I really do this? Or,
True.
like, am I actually worthy of doing this? Um, so I forgot what we were saying now.
It's
It's
about that. Yeah. The self doubt creeping in and trying to work more toward that empowered belief of you can do it, you can
yeah,
leave. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so no matter what we go through, we always have this self-doubt come in.
Mm.
I think that the best thing that, and especially for me in that situation, the best thing that I did was 100% hone in on that,
Mm.
that belief that, you know, someone was going to come and get me.
Yeah.
Dad was coming.
That's beautiful.
And then I had to sort of flick out any self-doubt and deal with it later, because this is the thing that I really needed to focus on right now. And the more that I let self-doubt come in, the more that I would just end up staying.
Yeah, that's incredible. And what a strong belief to have as well, because I can just imagine that you would have been so isolated, because that's a big part of an abusive relationship, is the isolation, the control. So the fact that you held on to this one belief that something's going to happen, and especially holding on to that relationship with your dad, would have been so beautifully powerful for you. But even if it's a tiny bit of hope, if that's all you have, take it.
Yeah.
And hold on to it with your life.
Yeah, take it, because that tiny little bit of hope could be the thing that actually changed your life.
Yeah, wow.
And like,
big theory.
For me it was, you know. Yeah.
And what's it taught you now, knowing that you were able to get through that?
Now it's taught me that, you know, well, first of all, from learning from it, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. I wouldn't be as strong as I am today. And then it's taught me that we hold ourselves back so much, so much, and we get in our own ways so much from, you know, our dialogue in our head, the things that we tell ourselves. It's taught me that actually I can do whatever I set out to do, and I can dream, right? I'm allowed to dream. It's taught me that, like I said before, just having that little bit of hope can actually change your life.
That's so good. That needs to be a Hallmark card.
Literally.
That's incredible, babe. Wow.
And another thing, like, I heard something the other day. I really love Joseph Wynn, who wrote the book Don't Believe Everything You Think. And he says that, you know, to come back to our truth that we hold within ourselves, really we need to go through immense suffering. And no matter what that suffering looks like for you or for whoever it is, it will look different in all kind of ways. But when we go through this immense suffering and we surrender to it, that's when we start to come back to our truth. And that's when we start to question everything that is going on where we are currently.
I always say that to my clients as well. You know, you're right. No matter how heavy or how light the trauma or the darkness is, that's where we build ourselves. That's how we grow. I mean, we don't build strength from happy times. You know what I mean? We don't build confidence and worthiness from everything going smoothly. Unfortunately, you're going to have to go through some really big roadblocks or challenges in order to develop yourself as such a strong, beautiful woman. And moving into motherhood, because I know you really do talk a lot about generational cycles. Did you have any fears or worries of what kind of mother you were going to be, or what was going to happen in motherhood for you based on your life up until that point?
100%. 100%. You know, it's so funny because the mum so I've got 3 kids now.
Yeah.
The mum that I was when I had my firstborn is completely different to the mum that I am now. And I actually had so many worries about, you know, everything that I could have potentially been putting onto my kids, that I was almost like over vigilant, like, know, to my children, to my firstborn. And that was, again, because I was still learning. Like, no one tells you how to do motherhood. No one knows what you're going to get. You just experience it, right? And you learn as you go. So from the mother that I was with my firstborn compared to my secondborn, I can see massively the difference between both children, like
Wow.
two boys.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that is because I was so over vigilant with my firstborn. And then with my secondborn, I had a bit more on my plate, I had a bit more to handle.
Yeah.
I had some evidence built up. I had a bit more confidence that I sort of took a step back and I wasn't so over vigilant with him. And the difference in his self-esteem, his confidence, his everything is vastly different compared to my
Wow.
first.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's
And number 3 was a walk in the park.
yeah, number 3.
I've got this down now.
She's so chill. She's
All right,
so
third
chill.
time's the charm. Wow. Isn't that so fascinating though?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And you should just be so, like, all mothers in general should just be so gentle on themselves. I mean, you're not given a fucking manual on how to be a quote unquote good mum, you know? It's just, and that's just proof right there, like generational cycles or just how they pick up on patterns and beliefs and your energy. You know, I have a friend that is a nervous Nelly, like really anxious all the time, a little worry pot, bless her socks, and her child is like that as well. So it's like they pick up on what's going on, you know? So yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. And it's hard to unsee stuff that you've seen, right? Like,
yes.
So it's hard to sort of remember, especially when you're going into your first child. It's hard to remember that you're still learning too.
Yes.
And you know, even though we've seen all of this stuff like generational cycles and beliefs and limiting beliefs and, you know, feeling worthy and all this stuff, even though we've seen all of that, it's still really hard to surrender to the fact that you're learning in motherhood. So you think, like, I thought that, you know, I sort of had it figured out in, you know, my first time. And then it wasn't until I had my second that I was like, oh my God, my first has picked up so much of what I put onto him, even though I was trying so hard not to put anything onto him.
That's how they learn, right? Like
yeah,
they're around you, they're going to learn one way or another. And I think, because I remember you talking about you help your clients, like the women in motherhood, around identity, right? So you would have been doing all this work trying to get through your trauma and work through those beliefs for yourself, trying to better yourself, and then becoming a mother. Did you ever have a point where you thought, I have to choose between focusing on motherhood and stop my personal journey? Or did you try to integrate and do both at once? Like, what was that identity shift like for you into motherhood?
I ended up integrating them. But like, to start with, you know, I was very much just solely focused on motherhood. And then it got to the point where even I said to myself, like, is this it? Like, I know that I've got, you know, at the time I had 2 beautiful kids, and I know that I had kids. I know that I've got my fiance. I know that, you know, we've built a family, we've built a home. And then I still found myself saying, is this it? Like, who am I? Like, I'm not feeling fulfilled. And that's sort of when I integrated the personal development and motherhood, because I thought, like, you know, everyone says, like, oh, you're gonna have kids and you're gonna have a family and it's gonna be fulfilling and all this, you know, there's all these kind of dreams and expectations that we put on ourselves and that society puts on us when we, you know, enter into our mother years. And I just wasn't feeling it. And that's when I realized that I actually had been putting myself last so much that I didn't know who I was anymore. Like, what made me happy? Like, I knew what my kids loved and I knew what hubby loved, but what did I actually love? What did I actually enjoy? I didn't know that. And that's why now I work so much with mothers on rediscovering who they are, like what are the bits of you that you loved pre-kids, and what bits do you love now? And okay, if you don't like what you loved before you had babies, then that's okay. Like, let's find something new. Yeah, so I find that they work hand in hand. It's like a powerhouse, personal development and motherhood.
Yeah.
And yeah, getting that identity back is just so powerful alone, whether it's in motherhood or before motherhood, or just having that real deep knowing of who you are, what you love to do, what makes you happy, what makes you fulfilled. Having that deep knowing is so powerful.
Yeah. And I love that you're talking about like the identity with motherhood, because not through my own experience, but a lot of my friends are mothers, and especially stay-at-home mums, right? Their whole world is their children, and they just feel so lost outside of that hat, like that role and label as mother. But it's like, then you feel so guilty and shut down because this one thing that I'm labeling myself doesn't fulfill me all the time. So what am I outside of that? And is that kind of what you help your clients with as well? Like, who are you other than this incredible mom,
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of the questions that I ask my client is, who are you besides your children, your relationship status, your work status, your family, where you're from? Who are you? I don't want to know anything about anyone else other than yourself. And, at first when I ask, it's a struggle for a lot of my clients to answer that. But then, we slowly start peeling back the layers. And by the end of it, they know who they are, and they're so proud of that person. They're so proud of who they have become. And I think sometimes it's not a lot of we're so much lost. It's more that we've forgotten who we are.
Wow. And so many women that are mothers would benefit from that as well, because we put so much pressure on ourselves to be this certain mom, because it is such a big responsibility. We're raising humans, you know what I mean? But I think it's important to know that you don't have to lose yourself in that process. Like, you can still be an individual person that gives everything to their kids, but still feel value for yourself and still feel worthy as your own individual and not just a mom. So
100%.
Props to you, girlfriend. That's incredible work.
I love it.
That's
so and then good. That's another cycle that we're breaking. We're breaking the cycles of the ideas that mothers have to put everyone before themselves, right? So we're breaking that, those beliefs and that idea that, mom's going to do everything and do everything for everyone else.
Yeah. Yes,
that's what I love the most.
Yes, that's so good, babe. For anyone that's listening that probably may be going through those generational cycles, you've picked up some patterns from listening to this, you're like, shit, I definitely do that. Or maybe you're having an identity crisis as a mom. Where can they find you, and maybe include in some of your work or just follow you on your business journey? Where can they find you?
Probably the best place would be Instagram, Kristin Bonney _. That's probably the best place. And my doors open to my program again in October. So October 10th, we open Sense of Self doors, and it's a 12-week journey basically to rediscover who we are. And stop holding ourselves back so we can start being the best version of ourselves.
That's amazing. Incredible, babe. I will link everything in the description, your Instagram, and the link to that waitlist. I think I actually have a couple of friends in mind that I'm going to recommend to you. I'm like, yes, this is so you. So that is beautiful. But I just want to say thank you so much for coming on today, babe, and sharing your incredible story. I know we were speaking off before we started recording just about being our true selves and being open and honest so that we can help impact other women's lives. So I really appreciate you sharing your story today.
Thank you so much for having me.
No worries, honey.
Thank
Enjoy the rest of
you.
your day.
You too.